Black boy saves drowning man during flood. Next day, a black car arrives. What happens next will shock you. The relentless rain had been pounding the small town of Willow Creek for days, turning the usually tranquil Willow Creek into a raging torrent. 13-year-old Jamal lived with his grandmother in a modest, single-story house perched precariously close to the creek's edge. Life hadn't been easy for Jamal. His parents had passed away in a car accident when he was just a baby, leaving him in the care of his aging grandmother, Mrs. Alara Jackson. Jamal was a quiet and observant boy, his world largely confined to the boundaries of Willow Creek. He spent his days helping his grandmother around the house, tending to their small vegetable garden, and exploring the woods that bordered the town. School was a challenge, not because of the academics, but because of the constant taunts and whispers he endured due to his race and impoverished background. Despite the hardships, Jamal possessed a kind heart and an unwavering sense of responsibility. He was fiercely protective of his grandmother, his love for her the anchor in his often turbulent life. He often ran errands for her, navigating the uneven sidewalks and dodging the occasional disdainful glance from some of the town's more affluent residents. One afternoon, as the rain continued its relentless assault, Jamal noticed Mr. Hemmings, an elderly gentleman who lived a few houses down, struggling against the rising floodwaters. Mr. Hemmings, known for his stubborn independence and refusal to leave his home, had been caught off guard by the rapidly rising creek. The current was swiftly pulling him downstream, his frail arms flailing in the churning water. Jamal's heart pounded in his chest. He knew he had to act fast. Without hesitation, he grabbed a long, sturdy branch from the backyard and rushed towards the raging creek. The water was cold and swift, but adrenaline coursed through Jamal's veins, pushing him forward. He waded into the icy water, the branch outstretched towards Mr. Hemmings. "Mr. Hemmings, grab on!" he yelled over the roar of the water. Mr. Hemmings, his face contorted in fear, managed to grasp the branch. Jamal, with all his might, pulled the elderly man towards the safety of the bank. He helped Mr. Hemmings to his feet, his own body shivering from the cold and exertion. "Thank you, Jamal," Mr. Hemmings gasped, his voice trembling. "You saved my life." Jamal, his clothes soaked and his teeth chattering, simply nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. He helped Mr. Hemmings back to his house, ensuring he was warm and safe before returning home to his worried grandmother. The next morning, the rain had finally subsided, leaving behind a town scarred by the flood's wrath. Willow Creek was still swollen, but the immediate danger had passed. As Jamal was helping his grandmother clean up their waterlogged yard, a sleek, black car pulled up in front of their house. A tall, imposing man in a dark suit stepped out of the car. He approached Jamal and his grandmother with a serious expression on his face. "Mrs. Alara Jackson?" he inquired, his voice deep and resonant. "Yes," Mrs. Jackson replied, her brow furrowed in confusion. "My name is Mr. Thompson." The man introduced himself. "I'm here on behalf of Mr. Edward Hemmings." Jamal's ears perked up at the mention of Mr. Hemmings' name. He exchanged a curious glance with his grandmother. "Mr. Hemmings wishes to express his gratitude for your grandson's heroic actions yesterday," Mr. Thompson continued. "He's deeply indebted to Jamal for saving his life." Mrs. Jackson's eyes widened in surprise. She looked at Jamal, a mixture of pride and concern etched on her face. "Jamal, you didn't tell me you saved Mr. Hemmings?" she said, her voice filled with both admiration and worry. Jamal shrugged, a shy smile spreading across his face. "It wasn't a big deal, Grandma. Anyone would have done the same." Mr. Thompson cleared his throat, drawing their attention back to him. "Mr. Hemmings is a very wealthy man, Mrs. Jackson. He insists on repaying Jamal for his bravery." He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a thick envelope. He handed it to Mrs. Jackson, who hesitantly accepted it. "This contains a check for $10,000, Mr. Thompson explained. "Mr. Hemmings hopes this will help secure a brighter future for Jamal." Mrs. Jackson's eyes widened in disbelief. $10,000 was an unimaginable sum of money to them. She looked at Jamal, her eyes brimming with tears. "Jamal," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. This is incredible." Jamal was equally stunned. He had never seen so much money in his life. He couldn't comprehend the magnitude of Mr. Hemmings' generosity. "Mr. Thompson smiled warmly. "Mr. Hemmings also wishes to offer Jamal a full scholarship to the prestigious Willow Creek Academy," he added. "It's the finest private school in the state." Jamal's heart skipped a beat. Willow Creek Academy was a world apart from the underfunded public school he attended. It was a place where the children of the town's elite received a top-notch education, a place he had only ever dreamed of attending. "He believes Jamal has a bright future ahead of him," Mr. Thompson continued. "He wants to give him the opportunity to reach his full potential." Mrs. Jackson's eyes were filled with tears of joy. She looked at Jamal, her heart overflowing with pride and gratitude. "Jamal," she said, her voice trembling, "this is a chance to change your life." Jamal, overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events, could only nod in agreement. He knew this was an opportunity he couldn't refuse, a chance to escape the poverty and prejudice that had plagued his life. The news of Jamal's heroic act and Mr. Hemmings' generous reward spread like wildfire through Willow Creek. The town, still reeling from the flood's devastation, found a glimmer of hope in the story of the young black boy who had risked his life to save an elderly white man. However, not everyone shared in the collective joy. A group of boys from Jamal's school, led by the town bully, Jason Miller, seethed with resentment. Jason, accustomed to being the center of attention, felt threatened by Jamal's newfound fame. He and his friends had always looked down upon Jamal, their prejudice fueled by ignorance and a sense of entitlement. One afternoon, as Jamal was walking home from school, Jason and his gang cornered him in an alleyway. Well, look who it is," Jason sneered, his voice dripping with malice. "The hero of Willow Creek." Jamal's heart sank. He knew trouble was brewing. He tried to walk past them, but Jason blocked his path. "Where do you think you're going?" Jason taunted. "We haven't congratulated you yet." Jason's cronies snickered, their eyes filled with menace. Jamal felt a surge of fear, but he stood his ground. "Leave me alone, Jason," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "Or what?" Jason challenged, stepping closer. "What are you going to do, hero?" Jason shoved Jamal, sending him stumbling backwards. Jamal's anger flared. He wasn't going to let them bully him anymore. "I'm not afraid of you, Jason," he said, his voice gaining strength. Jason's face contorted in rage. He lunged at Jamal, throwing a punch. Jamal, caught off guard, stumbled backwards, but managed to regain his balance. He dodged Jason's next punch and retaliated with a swift jab to the bully's jaw. Jason howled in pain, clutching his jaw. His cronies looked at each other in surprise. They hadn't expected Jamal to fight back. Emboldened by his newfound courage, Jamal stood his ground. He fought back against Jason and his gang, his fists flying. He was outnumbered, but adrenaline fueled his every move. The fight was chaotic and brutal. Jamal received his fair share of blows, but he refused to back down. He fought with a ferocity he didn't know he possessed, his anger and frustration finding an outlet in his fists. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Jason and his gang retreated, their faces bruised and bloodied. Jamal, battered and bruised himself, watched them go, a sense of triumph washing over him. He had faced his fears and stood up to his tormentors. He had proven to himself and to them that he wasn't going to be a victim anymore. The fight with Jason and his gang left Jamal with more than just physical scars. The incident had shaken him to his core, forcing him to confront the deep-seated prejudice that existed within his community. He realized that the scholarship to Willow Creek Academy, while a golden opportunity, also meant entering a world where he would be a minority, where he might face even more subtle forms of discrimination. He confided his fears to his grandmother, who listened patiently, her heart aching for her grandson's struggles. "Jamal," she said, her voice filled with wisdom and understanding. Life is full of challenges, but you have a kind heart and a strong spirit. You can overcome anything. She reminded him of the values she had instilled in him: kindness, perseverance, and self-belief. She encouraged him to embrace the opportunity, to use his education to pave the way for a better future, not just for himself, but for others who faced similar challenges. Jamal, inspired by his grandmother's words, made a decision. He would accept the scholarship to Willow Creek Academy. He would face his fears head-on and use this opportunity to prove that he deserved to be there, that he was more than just the black boy who saved the old man. The transition to Willow Creek Academy was far from easy. Jamal felt like an outsider, a lone black face in a sea of white privilege. He was acutely aware of the whispers and curious stares that followed him through the hallways. He missed his old friends, the familiar comfort of his neighborhood, and the unconditional love of his grandmother. But Jamal was determined to succeed. He threw himself into his studies, his natural intelligence and thirst for knowledge quickly earning him the respect of his teachers. He joined the school's debate team, his eloquence and sharp wit surprising those who had underestimated him. However, the social challenges persisted. Jason Miller, despite his bruised ego, still held sway over a significant portion of the student body. He and his cronies continued to taunt Jamal, spreading rumors and trying to undermine his confidence. Jamal found solace in the school library, a sanctuary where he could escape the social pressures and lose himself in the world of books. It was there that he met Emily, a bright and compassionate girl who saw beyond the color of his skin. Emily was intrigued by Jamal's quiet intelligence and his resilience in the face of adversity. She befriended him, offering him a much-needed sense of belonging. They studied together, debated ideas, and shared their dreams for the future. Emily's friendship was a lifeline for Jamal. She helped him navigate the treacherous waters of Willow Creek Academy, her unwavering support bolstering his confidence. One day, as Jamal and Emily were studying in the library, Jason and his gang approached them, their faces contorted in sneers. Well, look who it is," Jason sneered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "The hero and his little girlfriend." Jamal's heart sank. He knew this confrontation was inevitable. He stood up, ready to defend himself and Emily. "Leave us alone, Jason," he said, his voice firm and resolute. "Or what?" Jason taunted, stepping closer. "What are you going to do, hero? Cry to your little girlfriend?" Emily stood beside Jamal, her eyes blazing with anger. "Leave him alone, Jason," she said, her voice surprisingly strong. "You're just jealous because he's smarter and braver than you'll ever be." Jason's face flushed with rage. He lunged at Jamal, but Emily stepped in front of him, taking the brunt of Jason's shove. Jamal's anger erupted. He tackled Jason to the ground, his fists flying. The library erupted in chaos as students scrambled out of the way. The fight was brief but intense. Jamal, fueled by his protective instincts and his pent-up frustration, landed a series of blows that sent Jason reeling. The librarian rushed in, her face pale with shock. She separated the two boys, her voice stern and authoritative. "What is the meaning of this?" she demanded, her eyes scanning the chaotic scene. Jason, his face bruised and bloodied, pointed at Jamal. "He started it," he whined, his voice laced with self-pity. Emily stepped forward, her voice clear and confident. "That's not true," she countered. "Jason and his friends were harassing us." The librarian, a fair and observant woman, saw through Jason's lies. She reprimanded him and his gang, sending them out of the library. She then turned to Jamal and Emily, her expression softening. "Are you all right?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. Jamal and Emily nodded, their bodies still trembling from the adrenaline. The librarian smiled warmly. "I'm proud of you both for standing up to bullies," she said. "Never let anyone intimidate you." While Jamal was navigating the complexities of Willow Creek Academy, his grandmother, Mrs. Alara Jackson, was facing her own challenges. The flood had caused significant damage to their house, and the $10,000 reward, while generous, wouldn't cover all the repairs. Mrs. Jackson, a woman of strong faith and unwavering resilience, refused to let the situation dampen her spirits. She reached out to her church community, who rallied around her, offering their support and assistance. Volunteers from the church helped clean up the debris and make temporary repairs to the house. They organized a fundraising event, collecting donations from the community to help Mrs. Jackson rebuild her home. The outpouring of support touched Mrs. Jackson deeply. She realized that despite the prejudice and hardship she had faced throughout her life, there were still good people in Willow Creek, people who cared about her and her grandson. One day, while Mrs. Jackson was sorting through salvaged belongings, she stumbled upon an old, dusty box. Inside the box, she found a collection of letters and photographs, mementos from her late husband, a man who had been the love of her life. As she read through the letters, tears streamed down her face. She had cherished these memories for so long, but the flood had almost taken them away from her. The rediscovery of these precious mementos sparked a renewed sense of hope within Mrs. Jackson. She realized that despite the challenges she had faced, she still had so much to be grateful for. She had her grandson, her faith, and the love and support of her community. She decided to use the remaining reward money to not only repair her house, but also to create a small community garden in her backyard. She envisioned a space where people from all walks of life could come together, grow food, and connect with nature. She shared her idea with her church community, who embraced it with enthusiasm. They helped her clear the debris from her backyard and prepare the soil for planting. They donated seeds, tools, and their time to bring her vision to life. The community garden became a symbol of hope and unity in Willow Creek. It was a place where people could come together, regardless of their race, religion, or social status, and share in the joy of growing food and nurturing the earth. Mrs. Jackson, once a quiet and reserved woman, found a new sense of purpose in her role as the garden's caretaker. She shared her knowledge of gardening with others, her passion for nature inspiring those around her. The community garden became a source of pride for Willow Creek, a testament to the resilience and compassion of its residents. It was a place where people could heal from the wounds of the flood and forge new bonds of friendship and understanding. Jamal's friendship with Emily continued to blossom. They spent countless hours together, studying, exploring the town, and sharing their dreams for the future. Emily, with her bubbly personality and infectious laughter, brought a much-needed lightness into Jamal's life. She encouraged him to embrace his talents, to not let the prejudices of others define him. She helped him see the good in people, even those who had wronged him. One day, Emily invited Jamal to her house for dinner. Jamal, hesitant at first, eventually agreed, curious to see the world Emily came from. Emily's family welcomed him with open arms. Her parents, both successful professionals, were kind and welcoming, treating him with respect and genuine interest. During dinner, Emily's father, a renowned lawyer, engaged Jamal in a conversation about his aspirations for the future. Jamal, initially shy, gradually opened up, sharing his dreams of becoming a lawyer himself, of using his voice to fight for justice and equality. Emily's father was impressed by Jamal's intelligence and ambition. He offered to mentor him, to guide him on his path to becoming a lawyer. Jamal was overwhelmed by the offer. He had never imagined having such a powerful and influential figure in his corner. Emily's mother, a renowned doctor, also took an interest in Jamal. She saw his potential and encouraged him to pursue his dreams, offering him guidance and support. Jamal's friendship with Emily and her family opened up a whole new world for him. He began to see that not all wealthy and privileged people were like Jason and his cronies. There were good people in the world, people who were willing to help him succeed, regardless of his background. Jamal's relationship with his grandmother also deepened during this time. He shared his experiences at Willow Creek Academy with her, the challenges he faced, and the friendships he had formed. Mrs. Jackson listened patiently, offering words of wisdom and encouragement. She was proud of her grandson's resilience and his determination to succeed. She also shared her own experiences with him, the hardships she had faced as a Black woman in a predominantly white community. She taught him the importance of forgiveness, of not letting bitterness and resentment consume him. Jamal's relationship with his grandmother became his anchor, his source of strength and guidance. He knew that no matter what challenges he faced, he could always count on her love and support. One evening, Jamal was walking Emily home from school when they encountered Jason and his gang loitering near the park. Jason, seeing Jamal and Emily together, felt a surge of jealousy and resentment. He couldn't stand the sight of them, the black boy and the rich girl, their friendship a constant reminder of his own inadequacy. He called out to them, his voice laced with sarcasm. "Well, well, well, look who it is," he sneered. "The lovebirds." Jamal and Emily ignored him, continuing on their way. But Jason wasn't going to let them off so easily. He and his gang followed them, their footsteps echoing menacingly in the twilight. Jamal felt a surge of fear, but he refused to show it. He squeezed Emily's hand reassuringly, his grip firm and protective. Jason and his gang closed in, their faces contorted in menacing grins. "Where do you think you're going?" Jason taunted. "Don't you know it's dangerous for a little rich girl to be out with a black boy after dark?" Emily's eyes flashed with anger. "Leave us alone, Jason," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Or what?" Jason challenged, stepping closer. "What are you going to do, hero? Protect your little girlfriend?" Jamal stepped in front of Emily, shielding her from Jason's menacing gaze. "Leave her alone, Jason," he said, his voice calm but firm. "This has nothing to do with her." Jason laughed cruelly. "Oh, I think it does," he sneered. "It's about time you learned your place, boy." He lunged at Jamal, throwing a punch. Jamal, prepared this time, dodged the blow and retaliated with a swift kick to Jason's shin. Jason howled in pain, clutching his leg. His gang hesitated, surprised by Jamal's quick reflexes. Jamal seized the opportunity. He charged at the gang, his fists flying. He fought with a ferocity born of fear and anger, his every move fueled by his desire to protect Emily. Emily, watching the fight unfold, felt a mixture of fear and admiration. She had never seen Jamal like this before, his quiet demeanor replaced by a fierce determination. The fight was chaotic and brutal. Jamal, outnumbered but not outmatched, fought with all his might. He landed blow after blow, his fists connecting with his attackers' faces and bodies. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Jason and his gang retreated, their faces bruised and bloodied. Jamal, battered but victorious, watched them go, his chest heaving with exertion. He turned to Emily, his eyes filled with concern. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice laced with worry. Emily nodded, her eyes shining with admiration. "I'm fine," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Jamal." Jamal smiled, his heart swelling with pride. He had faced his fears and protected the girl he cared about. The fight with Jason and his gang had far-reaching consequences. News of the incident spread throughout Willow Creek Academy, reaching the ears of the school principal, Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson, a stern but fair man, was troubled by the escalating tensions between Jamal and Jason. He realized that the underlying issue was not simply a personal conflict between two students, but a reflection of the deep-seated prejudice that existed within the school and the community. He decided to address the issue head-on. He called an assembly, gathering the entire student body in the auditorium. "Students," he began, his voice echoing through the hall, "I'm addressing you today because of a disturbing incident that occurred recently." He recounted the fight between Jamal and Jason, emphasizing the underlying issue of prejudice and discrimination. "We cannot tolerate such behavior in our school," he declared. "We must create a safe and inclusive environment for all students, regardless of their race, religion, or background." He announced the formation of a student diversity committee, tasked with organizing events and initiatives to promote understanding and acceptance. He encouraged students to participate, to share their experiences, and to work together to create a more inclusive school community. The assembly was met with mixed reactions. Some students, like Emily and her friends, were enthusiastic about the initiative. Others, like Jason and his cronies, remained skeptical, their prejudices deeply ingrained. Jamal, sitting in the audience, felt a surge of hope. He realized that Mr. Henderson's actions were a step in the right direction, a sign that change was possible. However, the assembly also had unintended consequences. Jason, feeling humiliated and exposed, vowed revenge. He saw the diversity committee as a threat to his social standing, a challenge to his authority. He rallied his gang, plotting to disrupt the committee's activities and undermine its efforts. He spread rumors, intimidated students, and even resorted to vandalism, defacing posters and destroying displays. The tension in the school escalated, the fragile peace shattered by Jason's malicious actions. Jamal and Emily, determined to not let Jason win, worked tirelessly to counter his efforts. They organized meetings, recruited new members, and planned events to promote diversity and inclusion. The conflict came to a head during the school's annual talent show. The diversity committee had organized a special performance, showcasing the cultural diversity of the student body. Jason and his gang, determined to sabotage the performance, planned to disrupt the show with a series of pranks and disruptions. As the talent show began, the auditorium buzzed with anticipation. The diversity committee's performance was the highlight of the evening, a symbol of the school's commitment to inclusivity. Jamal and Emily, backstage, felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. They had worked tirelessly to make this performance a success, and they were determined to not let Jason ruin it. The curtains rose and the performers took the stage. The audience erupted in applause, their faces filled with anticipation. But just as the performance was about to begin, a series of disruptions erupted from the back of the auditorium. Jason and his gang, armed with stink bombs and noisemakers, unleashed their chaos. The auditorium descended into pandemonium. Students screamed, teachers shouted, and the performers stood frozen on stage, their faces filled with shock and dismay. Jamal and Emily, watching from the wings, felt their hearts sink. Jason had succeeded in ruining their performance, their message of unity drowned out by his hateful actions. But just as the chaos seemed insurmountable, a voice rang out from the audience. "Stop it!" It was Mr. Henderson, his face contorted in anger. He strode onto the stage, his voice booming through the auditorium. "This is disgraceful," he thundered. "I will not tolerate such behavior in my school." He ordered the lights to be turned on, exposing Jason and his gang in the spotlight. "You are a disgrace to this school," he said, his voice filled with contempt. "You have no place here." He expelled Jason and his gang from Willow Creek Academy. Their reign of terror finally brought to an end. The auditorium erupted in applause, the students relieved and jubilant. Jamal and Emily, their hearts filled with gratitude, watched as Mr. Henderson restored order. The talent show resumed, the diversity committee's performance now a symbol of triumph over adversity. The audience, united in their support, cheered on the performers, their hearts filled with hope for a more inclusive future. The expulsion of Jason and his gang brought a sense of relief to Willow Creek Academy. The atmosphere in the school shifted, the oppressive weight of prejudice lifting. Students who had previously been silent began to speak out, sharing their experiences and offering support to those who had been marginalized. The diversity committee flourished, organizing events and initiatives that celebrated the school's cultural diversity. Jamal and Emily, now recognized as leaders in the movement for inclusivity, worked tirelessly to promote understanding and acceptance. However, the conflict was far from over. Jason, fueled by resentment and a thirst for revenge, refused to accept defeat. He rallied his expelled cronies, forming a group of outsiders who targeted the school with acts of vandalism and harassment. They spray-painted hateful messages on the school walls, smashed windows, and even threatened students who supported the diversity committee. The school, once a haven of learning, became a battleground, the fragile peace shattered by Jason's relentless attacks. Mr. Henderson, determined to protect his students, increased security measures, installing cameras and hiring additional security guards. But Jason and his gang, emboldened by their anonymity, continued their reign of terror. Jamal and Emily, fearing for their safety and the safety of their fellow students, decided to take matters into their own hands. They organized a student patrol, recruiting volunteers to monitor the school grounds and report any suspicious activity. They also reached out to the community, seeking support from parents, teachers, and local organizations. They organized meetings, gave presentations, and wrote articles for the local newspaper, raising awareness about the ongoing harassment and calling for a united front against prejudice. Their efforts gained traction, garnering support from a growing number of community members. Parents volunteered to patrol the school grounds, teachers incorporated lessons on diversity and inclusion into their curriculum, and local organizations offered resources and support. The tide began to turn. Jason and his gang, facing increasing pressure from the community, found their support dwindling. Their acts of vandalism became less frequent, their threats less menacing. One evening, as Jamal and Emily were patrolling the school grounds, they spotted Jason and his gang lurking near the back entrance. They watched as the gang attempted to break into the school, their faces contorted in frustration as they struggled with the reinforced locks. Jamal and Emily, their hearts pounding with adrenaline, decided to confront the gang. They approached them cautiously, their voices firm and resolute. "What do you think you're doing?" Jamal demanded, his voice echoing in the night. Jason and his gang turned, their faces filled with surprise and anger. "What's it to you?" Jason sneered, his voice laced with defiance. "This is our school," Emily countered, her voice strong and unwavering. "We won't let you destroy it." Jason laughed cruelly. "You think you can stop us?" he taunted. "We're not afraid of you." "Maybe not," Jamal said, his voice calm but resolute. "But we're not afraid of you either." He and Emily stood their ground, their eyes locked with Jason's. The tension hung heavy in the air, the silence broken only by the chirping of crickets. Jason, sensing their unwavering determination, hesitated. He looked at his cronies, their faces filled with doubt and uncertainty. He realized that the tide had turned. The community was united against them, their support dwindling. Their reign of terror was over. With a sigh of defeat, Jason turned and walked away, his gang following silently behind him. Jamal and Emily watched them go, their hearts filled with relief and a sense of triumph. They had faced their fears, stood up to bullies, and protected their school. The incident at the back entrance marked a turning point in the conflict. Jason and his gang, defeated and demoralized, gradually faded from the scene. Their acts of vandalism ceased, their threats silenced. The school, once a battleground, returned to its peaceful rhythm. Students focused on their studies, teachers on their lessons, and the diversity committee on its mission of promoting inclusivity. Jamal and Emily, their leadership recognized and admired, continued to work tirelessly for the cause. They organized events, facilitated discussions, and mentored younger students, their voices becoming beacons of hope and understanding. The community, inspired by their example, rallied behind them, supporting their efforts and celebrating their achievements. Willow Creek, once divided by prejudice, began to heal, its residents embracing the diversity that had once been a source of conflict. Jamal, once an outsider, became a symbol of hope and change. His story, a testament to the power of courage and compassion, resonated throughout the community, inspiring others to stand up for what is right. He continued to excel in his studies, his academic achievements earning him recognition and accolades. He also discovered a passion for public speaking, his eloquence and charisma captivating audiences. He began to envision a future where he could use his voice to advocate for justice and equality, to inspire others to overcome adversity and achieve their dreams. Emily, his constant companion and confidant, supported him every step of the way. Their friendship, forged in the fires of conflict, deepened into a bond of mutual respect and admiration. They shared their dreams, their aspirations, and their fears, their connection a source of strength and inspiration. One day, while discussing their future plans, Emily suggested that Jamal consider running for student body president. "You have a voice that people listen to," she said, her eyes shining with encouragement. You could make a real difference. Jamal, initially hesitant, gradually warmed to the idea. He realized that Emily was right. He had the power to inspire change, to create a more inclusive and welcoming environment for all students. He decided to run for president. His platform centered on unity, diversity, and acceptance. He campaigned tirelessly, speaking at assemblies, organizing rallies, and meeting with students from all walks of life. His message resonated with the student body, his story of overcoming adversity inspiring hope and admiration. He was elected by a landslide, his victory a testament to the school's commitment to change. As student body president, Jamal worked tirelessly to implement his vision. He organized events that celebrated the school's cultural diversity, facilitated discussions on important social issues, and advocated for policies that promoted inclusivity. He became a role model for students of all backgrounds, his leadership inspiring a new generation of leaders committed to creating a more just and equitable world. Jamal's journey from a shy, marginalized boy to a confident, respected leader was a testament to his resilience, his compassion, and his unwavering belief in the power of change. He had faced adversity with courage, overcome challenges with determination, and emerged from the crucible of conflict a stronger, more compassionate individual. He had learned the importance of standing up for what is right, even when it was difficult. He had discovered the power of his voice, using it to advocate for justice and equality. He had also learned the value of forgiveness, letting go of bitterness and resentment to embrace understanding and compassion. He reflected on his experiences, the challenges he had faced, and the lessons he had learned. He realized that the flood, the rescue, the scholarship, the conflict with Jason, and his journey at Willow Creek Academy had all been part of a larger plan, shaping him into the person he was meant to be. He was grateful for the people who had supported him along the way: his grandmother, Emily, Mr. Henderson, and the countless others who had believed in him and encouraged him to pursue his dreams. He realized that his story was not just about him, but about the power of community, the importance of unity, and the transformative potential of education. He was determined to use his experiences to inspire others, to show them that they too could overcome adversity and achieve their dreams. He envisioned a future where everyone, regardless of their background, had the opportunity to succeed, where prejudice and discrimination were replaced by understanding and acceptance. He knew that the journey towards that future would be long and challenging, but he was committed to playing his part, using his voice and his actions to create a more just and equitable world. He looked back at the boy he had been, the shy, marginalized boy who had once felt invisible. He smiled, proud of the journey he had taken, the person he had become. He was no longer that boy. He was Jamal, the leader, the advocate, the voice for change. Jamal's story is a testament to the power of the human spirit, the resilience of the human heart, and the transformative potential of education. It is a story about overcoming adversity, facing challenges with courage, and emerging from the crucible of conflict a stronger, more compassionate individual. It is a story about the importance of standing up for what is right, even when it is difficult, and using one's voice to advocate for justice and equality. It is a story about the power of community, the importance of unity, and the ability of individuals to inspire change. Jamal's journey from a shy, marginalized boy to a confident, respected leader is an inspiration to us all. It reminds us that we all have the potential to make a difference, to create a more just and equitable world. It reminds us that education is a powerful tool for change, empowering individuals to overcome adversity and achieve their dreams. It reminds us that unity is essential in the face of conflict, and that together, we can overcome any challenge. Jamal's story is a story of hope, a story of resilience, a story of the transformative power of the human spirit. It is a story that will continue to inspire generations to come.